just wanted to see if the stuff I read in the Bible worked in real life. And so I loved being around these guys who didn't know God and trying to be a light to them. Now, I understand why people did that in my life, because they didn't want me to be influenced by them. They wanted me to influence them. But comes a point in time when our faith has got to get out in the middle of the world and see if it's genuine or not, or whether we've just been playing church. And so being in college and living with guys that didn't know Christ, literally at the Christian college that I was in, my sophomore year, someone from Campus Ministries pulled me aside and said, "You shouldn't be hanging out with these guys." And I said, I don't understand that kind of Christianity. Because when I see Jesus, he's hanging out with people that they call tax collectors and sinners and people that weren't necessarily following God. And not that I'm Jesus by any means, but if I'm following him, I need to have people in my life who aren't Christ followers. And through that 2-3 year process of living with them and not showing the church ministries side of things, but really showing someone who loved them, we saw about half the team come to Christ, and there was this great renewal. I work with some of the guys who came to Christ in the middle of that time right now. And once you taste that kind of revolution, you can't go back to that old world of, I'm going to be a Christian over here somewhere and the world's going to be over here somewhere. See, here's what I think the big difference is. And I want to demonstrate this visually. Here's what you're normally told as a high school student. You've got God over here on this side. You've got the world over here on this side. We're going to let Keys be God.
Yeah.
All right? And so what you're supposed to do as a Christian, if you really are a follower of Jesus Christ, is you grab hold of God and you get away from the world. Right? That's what you're told. Only problem is, the only place this works is at camp. Because you got to go back and you got to be in the world. And next thing you know, you're kind of back like this, and before you know it, for me, as a college student, I found a better way to live, and this is what I think would radically alter your life. What if you said this? I was never supposed to be in the middle of these two things to begin with. And you put God in the middle, and you started to see the world through God. You started to interact in the world with the cross in front of you. Then all of a sudden, that's the kind of life that I can actually live, because I'm going to be in the middle of the world. I'm going to be involved in it, but I'm going to do it in a way that sees the world through God's eyes. This is something that I can actually take root with my life. This over here, I was always caught camp 2 weeks later and just doing this back and forth. And when I got a picture of this right here, I said, that's the kind of faith that I can embrace 24/7 without feeling like a hypocrite at camp and a poser when I got home. So that's hopefully that helps a little bit there.
Yeah, well, I mean, growing up in camp when I was a little weak, you know, we sing that song, "The world behind me, the cross before me, no turning back." I'm like, is that good? Or just ditching everyone in the world? Like, yeah, forget you, you know? Like, it seems to me like we received the mercy and love of God, and then we're supposed to go take it to them. And Dave shared this with me maybe at a camp a few years ago, and I was like, it's just a whole paradigm shifter, you know? For me, I mean, we've gotten to bring a lot of people into our home and share the love of Christ with them and see a lot of people come into the kingdom. But what Dave was saying, what I want to do everywhere I go is to share the love and the joy of Jesus. Because I never saw that growing up. I thought God was kind of boring, to be honest, and that the world was pretty awesome. I grew up real sheltered, so I never went out into the world or anything, but I knew my life was pretty boring. My parents' lives seemed pretty boring. But then I'm starting to read the Bible, and Jesus, at a wedding where they'd been drinking all day, they ran out of wine, and Jesus shows up with 12 vats of it. Everyone wants Jesus at their parties, I noticed, and no one wanted me at their parties in high school. You know what I mean? And you go through the Bible, and it says Jesus was anointed with the oil of joy above all other men. Hebrews 1. He was anointed with the oil of joy above everyone else. And so Jesus is this joyful, loving guy, and all I'm doing is judging everyone around me all the time. And so now I try to just winsomely love people into the kingdom. I used to study apologetics and the arguments. I could debate you into the faith. You know, I went to 2 weeks of intensive apologetics training so that I could basically defeat anyone in a debate. But that doesn't get people into the kingdom. No, who wants to be beat up into becoming a Christian? Like, what is that? I think people want to be loved, you know? And Jesus, if anyone could have beat people up with theology, it would have been Jesus. But he just loves and he's joyful. And now it's my favorite thing in the world. Because I used to be so, like, terrified about sharing my faith. We'd go on mission trips, you know? You're like, share my faith. Like, I don't even really like my faith, you know? But now, I get to just go, and instead of showing up to tell people what they need to think, I just show up and ask them how their life is. And I listen. Instead of showing and telling, we just show and listen. Show up, listen to people, and then just start saying, wow, your story, it reminds me a lot of Jesus here. Or that reminds me, how you were betrayed? Man, Jesus was betrayed. And I've felt that before in my own life. And for you to be able to identify their story and how it resonates with the story of Jesus, to do that, you just have to know the story of Jesus. You know?
I had to find a way to share my faith in a way that didn't make me feel dirty at the end of the day. Because I felt like everyone that was telling me to evangelize, it was just a used car sales trick or a door-to-door vacuum salesman trick. And I don't sell cars very well, and I don't sell vacuum cleaners very well. And so I would always have to share my faith in a way that made me feel like I was tricking somebody. And I just didn't. I can't do that. But when I could find a way to share Christ in a way that made me feel, I'm glad I have something to say like that, that was huge in my life. And a lot of that came from that paradigm shift that I just told you about.